Good evening. Please bear with me tonight because this is the first time I've ever had to do anything like this. So I'm really, really nervous. I would like to thank FSHD Global for inviting me here tonight for me to share my story with you. My name is Tracey and I live with FSHD muscular dystrophy. I grew up in a humble home to a working class family. Dad worked and Mum stayed home and looked after us all. I am the middle child and the only one to inherit this disease. Both my parents had a disability. Dad's was due to a car accident and Mum's was muscular dystrophy. Mum went undiagnosed until 1983, 3 months before my diagnosis. She was wrongly diagnosed at the age of 12 with polio and was therefore treated throughout her life as a polio patient. My diagnosis was at the age of 16. It answered so many questions as to why I was so damn clumsy all the time, why I disliked sports at school, why I had no interest in playing any kinds of physical sports at all, why I crashed my push bike all the time, why I had trouble getting up off the floor, why my whistling abilities sucked, and why staircases proved to be a mission for me. I finally had a reason why. See, I wasn't clumsy after all. Really, I can't tell you how I felt about my diagnosis with FSH. I don't remember a lot from those days of my life. I was 16, out there in the big wide world of the working class, and suddenly I was being told that I have what my mum has. I now had to look forward to watching my future play out in front of me as my mum worsened. I didn't know back then what it really meant for both of us. Only that we were going to end up using a wheelchair and that there was a 50-50 chance of me passing this disease on to any children I planned on having. I grew up watching my mum struggle with everyday life, so I decided very on that I wasn't going to have children. I wasn't going to pass this disease on to anyone. It didn't seem fair of me. I watched what this disease did to my beautiful mum in the last few years of her life. It was cruel and heartbreaking. To see her suffer. With crippling pain, all caused by the effects that comes from having FSHD. It's something that no one should ever have to endure. My mum was my rock and I hers. We shared a common bond. We both knew when the other was hurting. Both Mum and Dad worried about my future. Who was going to be there for me like I was for them? Do I worry about my future? Of course I worry. I'm not worrying about the dying part. I'm more afraid of dying alone in some aged care facility. All those in my life are now older than me. So what happens when they've gone? Being the eldest daughter, I took on the role of Mum's helper. I would help out with the cooking, the cleaning, the washing. It was just a part of my life growing up. And now I find myself in the same position. Unfortunately, I don't have anyone there who really gets it anymore. I lost my beautiful mum almost 4 years ago now. And I sit here tonight and allow you a glimpse into my life with FSHD. And yet it's not something I do lightly. You see, I've seen my future through my mum, and I don't want that future for myself. Yes, I struggle, but I try to keep my life as normal as possible. Everyday things that most people take for granted are a struggle for me. Just getting out of bed of a morning is hard. It's hard because it's painful and all the stiffness that comes with this disease. To roll over in bed takes me minutes, not seconds. Feeding myself some days is a struggle. Dressing and undressing, especially during winter, takes me forever. It actually took me 2.5 hours tonight to get ready. Just to have a drink is becoming a challenge. If my arms are tired, then I have to use a straw. Brushing my teeth, I use an electric toothbrush and I rest my arms on the basin. Hair and makeup, no, that's challenging. But I find a way to do it, and I think it's working at the moment. Getting in and out of a car on my own, not anymore. Even with a carer, it's hard on my body. And the list goes on. For me, the only way I can manage to cope with this disease and not become a basket case is to concentrate on the things that I still can do. Even if it is difficult, I do it a little strangely, but you see, I see that as a bonus. I don't allow myself to live in a world of I can't. I live in a world of I can, and I live every day as if it could be the last day that I can. For a long time, in fact, most of my life, I shut myself away because I didn't like myself. I didn't like people looking at me because I walked funny, and later on having to see them use me in a wheelchair. It got to the point where I would go to a shopping centre in another suburb just so I wouldn't bump into anyone who knew me before I used a wheelchair to get around. I was so embarrassed, I really didn't like going out in public. I became so good at making excuses to friends as to why I couldn't make it. Most of my friends didn't even know I had FSH or that I needed to use a wheelchair. That's how well I hid it. There was this one time that will stick in my mind forever. My best friend from school invited me to her wedding. I fibbed to her and told her I couldn't make it. For whatever reason, on that day of her wedding, I borrowed my dad's car so that no one would recognise me. And I drove to the church just so that I could catch a glimpse of her going in. And even to this day, she doesn't know the real reason why I wasn't at her wedding. All because I was too embarrassed to be seen in a wheelchair. My life back then was work, home, and very little socialising. This disease not only destroys our muscles, but for some of us, it destroys our self-worth. I struggled for 34 years with self-worth. I've had my heart broken one too many times because of this horrible disease. Once because I chose not to have children, and once because my partner then couldn't watch what this disease was taking from me. So that wall that I allowed to come down to trust, love, and to be loved and share my life with someone is rather solid now. I've recently become aware of a moment back in time when I was around 18. I had this major crush on someone who I found out that felt the same for me, yet my wall was up. He even went to my mum. She sat him down and told him about what she knew of this disease and what I was going through after my diagnosis. He assured my mum that it didn't bother him and it didn't change the way he felt about me. Yet it bothered me, and I pushed him away and out of my life. It's kind of sad, isn't it? I spent all my life pushing people away because I lacked self-worth from myself, and all because of this horrible disease. I had a chance to move to Tasmania for a few years in the late 90s. One of the best things I probably ever did for myself. It allowed me to be Tracey, the girl in the wheelchair. You see, no one down there knew me any other way. It gave me confidence I needed. It showed me what I had been missing out on. It showed me life could be fun. When I did come home, I had far more confidence to be seen in public, and I started to live again. June 2012 was the start of a whole new way of life and an adventure for me. You see, I finally found my feet, pardon the pun. I actually lost the ability to walk and found myself permanently reliant on a power wheelchair, this wheelchair. A new path I needed to take because of my ever-changing body and losing more of my independence because of it. No way was I letting go that easily. I realised I needed a vehicle that would allow me to drive from this chair for many more years to come, even as my ability changed. Thanks once again to this bloody horrible disease. I know I set my sights rather high, but I really, really love to drive. You see, I used to drag race way back in the earlier years, and I'm certainly not giving up driving just yet. So I set out to raise $150,000 to purchase this amazing van. What on earth was I thinking? I've been at it now for 4.5 years. And 4.5 very long years, it seems. And I'm excited to tell you, sitting here tonight, I have reached $81,000. And I've done this all on my own with a little small band of family and volunteers. I know what you're thinking, why so expensive? No, it's not a Lamborghini, I wish. It's just a van. The cost of the controls alone that I need to steer this van is worth $80,000. I will be using a joystick to steer, and I need an electric brake and accelerator. I'll be able to enter and exit this vehicle on my own, and as long as I have use of my hands, I will be able to drive this car, and like I said, I am not ready to give that up. My greatest fear is by the time I reach my target, I still won't have raised enough money to cover the costs, because every year it goes up. While I've been keeping myself busy fundraising, I also decided I'd take up shooting professionally. I am now a 10-metre air rifle shooter, and I'm the only female in Australia shooting in my classification. Thank you. I've been lucky enough to travel the world representing my country and Australia as an Australian para-athlete. I have bucket loads of medals and awards to show for all my hard work. And I now have loads of new friends from all over the world. The last 4 years of my life since discovering shooting has been one hell of a ride, and I'm not giving it up yet. I can honestly say, sitting here tonight, I love my life. I really, really love my life. I may have to put my shooting on hold for a bit because driving now is getting hard for me. And right now, my van is my main priority. You see, I have plans for myself and my van. Because I have travelled most of Australia in these last few years, I have found booking a wheelchair accessible room to suit my needs extremely difficult. And as anyone connected with a person with a disability can verify, that we all have different needs. So the next project I want to work on, yet I haven't figured out quite how I'm going to do this yet, but I want to travel Australia, reviewing and rating these so-called wheelchair accessible rooms, so that anyone in a wheelchair looking to travel can book a room with absolute certainty, knowing that it will suit their needs. I hope to work with suppliers that have equipment and have equipment made available for these rooms, so that people like myself don't have to carry it with us or have the added expense of hiring the equipment when we arrive at our destination. It's all about accessibility and inclusion. I would like to finish up now with a great big thank you to you sitting here tonight. With your ongoing support, a treatment for FSHD is very possible. The progress that FSHD Global Research Foundation is making in medical research to find a cure and a treatment for this horrible disease is becoming closer and closer. It is only possible to continue with the research by having you support the foundation by donating your hard-earned dollars and giving hope to the thousands of people just like me. Some a little better, yet many of us are worse off. Our dream is to find a cure and a treatment for FSHD. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please, another round of applause for Tracey's beautiful story. You are an inspiration to all of us.
Thank you.
And we're so honoured to have you come out and speak with us tonight. I know it was really, really hard.
Yeah.
But just seeing your journey and what you've made out of your life and what you continue to do for others it's just incredible, amazing. So well done. Thank you so much.
Thank
Cheers.
you. Thank you.